Alcatraz is considered one of the most famous prisons in the world. It's a tiny island in the middle of San Francisco Bay, just a bare rock on which an impregnable fort was built. It existed as a federal prison for only 29 years. But it was during this period that America's most dangerous criminals, gangsters, murderers, kidnappers, were brought here. Unlike other places of detention, where convicts were still being tried to be reformed, Alcatraz was intended for those who were no longer expected to be reformed. It was believed that it was impossible to escape from here. But, of course, the prisoners tried anyway. The first escape attempt on April 27, 1936, prisoner No. 210 Joseph Bauer worked in the yard and threw garbage into the furnace of the incinerator. Suddenly, he dropped the wheelbarrow and ran as fast as he could to the fence. Despite the shouts of the guards, he managed to climb over the fence. But then a shot rang out. Bauer fell off a cliff, flew about 15 meters and fell to his death. In a sense, he achieved his goal. He died outside the prison. This was how the first escape attempt was recorded. There are 14 such cases in total, and only one story will remain a mystery. Why was it almost impossible to escape from Alcatraz? The distance from the island to the mainland is only 2 kilometers. From the shore, it seems that you just need to jump into the water and swim to the city. But this is just an illusion. The water in San Francisco Bay is cold all year round, no higher than 11 to 12 C. The currents are very strong. They take us right into the open ocean. The island and the strait are often shrouded in thick fog, which makes it impossible to navigate. Alcatraz itself is small. Its length is about 500 meters, and its width is 180 meters. In the center is a huge concrete prison building with a single entrance. There are barbed wire fences and watchtowers all around. The guards were ordered to shoot to kill. Steep cliffs ranging from 6 to 15 meters high began behind the fence. Ordinary prisoners were not sent here. Alcatraz was visited by those who terrorized the staff of other prisons: rebels, sadists, psychopaths, and incorrigible fugitives. The reputation of the rock very soon. Ominous rumors began to spread about the prison. Prisoners were beaten, starved, and kept in damp cells without windows. Instead of doors, there were thick bars behind which there was no shelter from either the cold or the light. The local punishment cell, nicknamed the Hole, was particularly terrifying. Stone sacks without furniture and windows, where prisoners were put naked. People went crazy, mutilated themselves, just not to work. There are cases when prisoners chopped off their fingers with an axe. Suicides happened regularly, but surprisingly, some prisoners asked to go to Alcatraz. The reason is simple. Here, unlike in other American prisons, the food was better. Famous prisoners, the main star of Alcatraz was Al Capone. His cell didn't look any different from the others. It was cramped, damp, and had no windows. But they were allowed to bring furniture for the mafia boss, a bed, an armchair, and even a desk. Capone played the banjo in the prison band and, according to the memoirs of his contemporaries, achieved notable success in music. Besides him, there were people sitting on the rock. Mickey Cohen is a legend of the Los Angeles underground. Machine Gun Kelly is a cop killer and kidnapper, so named for his masterly possession of a Thompson submachine gun. Dozens of lesser-known but extremely violent gangsters, raiders, and mafiosi. In total, up to 300 prisoners were held here at the same time. Corals, fights, and murders were common, and security was extremely tight. The most daring escapes: 1937. Escape in the fog. Two prisoners, Theodore Cole and Ralph Rowe, noticed a weakness in the security system. The prison workshops were less well guarded. With the help of files, they sawed through the grates and got out. They jumped off the cliff onto the tires and took canisters for buoyancy into the water. It was foggy that night, and they were not noticed from the towers. But the cold water and poor visibility did their job. No one saw the fugitives anymore. They were officially declared dead. Late 1930s, 1940s. Attacks and tricks. The prisoners repeatedly attacked the guards, tried to build rafts, hid in garbage cans, or changed into military uniforms. But it all ended either with bullets, or death in the water, or voluntary return. Many realized that they would not survive. 1946. The battle for Alcatraz. The bloodiest uprising took place on May 2, 1946. Prisoners Bernard Coy and Joseph Kretz managed to lure the guard out, climbed through the bars, and took possession of the weapon. They were joined by several other prisoners. They took 8 guards hostage and armed themselves with a rifle and a pistol. The plan failed almost immediately. The prisoners inserted the wrong key into the lock, and it jammed. Then the shooting started. On the second day, Marines who had recently returned from fighting in Okinawa landed on the island. The soldiers did not stand on ceremony. They threw grenades at the building. As a result, 5 died and 14 were injured. 2 of the ringleaders were later executed in a gas chamber. After that, security measures in Alcatraz were seriously strengthened. 1962. The escape of the Anglin brothers and Frank Morris. The most famous escape attempt occurred on the night of June 12, 1962. 3 people participated in the escape: brothers John and Clarence Anglin and Frank Morris. Morris developed a plan. There were old ventilation shafts in the walls of their cells, and the concrete was dilapidated. They assembled a homemade drill from a spoon, a piece of metal, and a motor from a vacuum cleaner. They only worked during the music broadcast over the speaker. The holes were masked with newspaper stoppers. They made an inflatable raft and vest out of rubberized raincoats, and made papier-mâché replicas of heads into which they inserted real hair obtained in a prison barber shop. On the night of the escape, they put these dummies under the blankets and got out through the tunnel. The 4th participant, Alan West, did not dare or did not have time, so it was from him that all the details of the operation later became known. The 3 climbed up the ventilation duct to the roof, then went down to the shore, inflated the raft with the help of an accordion bellows, and sailed into the bay. No one else saw them. The mystery of the 1962 escape. According to the FBI, the fugitives died. A purse with the addresses of the England's relatives, a life jacket with a broken flap, and pieces of rubberized material were found on the shore. But other facts are questionable. The report, declassified later, said that the raft was still found near the shore, and there were traces of it. On the same day, 3 unidentified men stole a car nearby. After the escape, the brothers' mother received flowers and postcards from South America. At her funeral, 2 women were seen looking suspiciously like men in disguise. In 2013, the FBI received a letter allegedly from John Anglin. He wrote that he had cancer and wanted to return. In 2020, an Irish newspaper reported that the facial recognition system had identified the Anglin brothers in a 1975 photo from Brazil. with a 97% chance of a match. It is still unknown whether the fugitives drowned or were able to start a new life. The end of prison in 1963, Alcatraz was closed. The prison was too expensive to maintain, and the buildings quickly collapsed under the influence of wind and seawater. Today, the Rock is a popular museum and tourist attraction. The Escape from Alcatraz Triathlon has been held here since 1983. Participants need to swim 2.5 kilometers to the shore, then cycle 29 kilometers and run 13 kilometers. What was previously considered impossible for prisoners has now become a sporting challenge. What do you think about this story? Write in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any amazing new stories. See you.